Hello and welcome to another episode of 5-Minute Dissertation Diaries. My name is Marty Scholes and today is Sunday, May 1st, 2022. It's been a crazy week. Let me tell you a little bit about what's happened. On Monday, I prepared questions for the dissertation committee meeting and I met with the dissertation committee. That was my methodologist and my dissertation chair. We met to review some of the recent feedback and I learned a lot. I had some concerns. On Tuesday, what I did was I reviewed the notes in the video of the meeting, and I created an index to topics so that when I go back through my paper, I've got, a time code 3215, this happens. What I did was I kept looking for Saldaña's four-step process. My methodologist told me I had to cite Saldaña's four-step process, but I couldn't find Saldaña's four-step process. And I told my methodologist, I can't find it. He said it's there. I read Saldaña's books, I read a lot of his material. Tuesday night, I went through and I said, I'm going to find it. My methodologist told me, he sent me a clip of some information that references Saldaña's four-step process. And I looked all over. I looked in Google Scholar. I looked in the school library, found nothing. But I looked at dissertations and I found a lot of near matches. Out of desperation, I wrote Saldaña. I found out he works at ASU, Johnny Saldaña. I said, hey, Professor Saldaña, sorry to contact you directly. I can't get to AQR without referencing your four-step process, but I can't find it anywhere. Can you just tell me which book to buy? He wrote me back that night and said, no, I didn't write that. Your methodologist is generalizing some, and it's basically the process, but I didn't write the four-step process. So now I got a problem. I wrote my dissertation chair and I said, hey, I'm concerned this may be an ethical thing, but I certainly need air cover. And I went back and forth with my chair. The bottom line is there is no Saldaña four-step process. So I was looking for something that didn't exist. But I did find references all over dissertations using almost identical language to his four-step process. So other people are citing something that's not there. And none of those citations included page numbers. Of course they didn't. There are no pages in this book that support those citations. I was a little annoyed. But I went through all that. On Wednesday, I discussed that with my dissertation chair. I did receive permission from Professor Saldaña to include his chart in my dissertation proposal. I located and skimmed 4 recent qualitative descriptive discussions or dissertations. I'm going to use those to structure a lot of the pieces that I have. I completed the end-of-course survey, submitted the ISP summary and reflection, and I posted an LDP entry. On Thursday, I completed and submitted the ISP for the new course. This is my last course I'm allowed into until I file an appeal. I completed the course introductory work. What I'm trying to do now is on Fridays, find an old reference and replace it with a newer one. And I went through and I located an older reference dated 2014, had 1 citation. I was able to remove it, so that cleaned up my references for older stuff. Yesterday, what I reviewed the expert panel review materials. I made a plan. I created a pipeline Trello board. I seeded it with 7 candidates and 7 sources, or 7 candidate sources and 11 candidates. I've got a Trello pipeline. I probably should show it, but I'm not going to right now. Then what I did was I turned around and duplicated that. I created a field test materials, went through and looked at all that. I created a pipeline Trello board for it. I seeded it with 5 candidate sources and 5 candidates. I put in my to-do list every day to move forward, both the expert panel and the field test Trello board. So I've done all that. That's great. It's moving forward. Today I went ahead and I worked on the expert panel field test, reached out to one of the guys that I know on both of them, got some responses. Moving forward, so I've got that thing operationalized as a pipeline. If I just work it every day, I'll get an expert panel and a field tester. Oh, and yesterday what I did also was I collapsed my research questions from 6 to 3 and reflected them across a proposal. I still need to rework the research questions section because it references the questions inappropriately, but the questions themselves have been collapsed and reflected all across the proposal. Today what I did was I created the questionnaire crosswalk table. That turned out to be a lot harder than I thought it would be. I want to make sure it was compatible with APA 7. I think it is. I think I'm good there. I formatted all my tables to APA 7 specifications. I populated the questionnaire crosswalk table. I created an interview crosswalk table and I began populating it. I ran out of time. That's what I've got here this coming week. I'm actually behind schedule now. This coming week, I expect to be out of town this weekend, but working on the paper. I've got to work on the research questions. Let's just take a look here at all the stuff staring at me. I've got to create the proposal. I've got to populate the crosswalks. I've got to look for exemplar field tests. I've got to work on the extension. I got to go through the paper, of course, and fix all the things that are in there. Appeal the course. Yeah, it's standard stuff. Of course, work on an expert panel and the field tester. But I think it'll be okay. I mean, the biggest challenge I'm going to have, the biggest kind of question mark, I think, is going to be SurveyMonkey. I just have to spend the time experimenting with it and understanding it so that I can then integrate that into the changes that I'm making on my paper. So I think I'm okay. I've got 7 weeks, 7.5 left before I'm out of school. So this coming week, it's really about focusing on the field test, the expert panel hunt, which is operationalized. Just spend about half an hour a day on it. It's also about filling out the appeal process and getting to know SurveyMonkey so that I can then go through and just finish the rest of the paper. I think that's about it. Hope you're doing well, whoever you are and whatever you are. Take care.